Riddle me this. What is something that was said to you from the age of 0 to 18 that you are now an adult and is affecting you? I'll go first. That I was a bad mom. I had my first child when I was 16 years old, and I was just not a good mom. Like, I wasn't, like, to be honest, like, I wasn't, right? I take full accountability. I still had, like, a child, like, mindset and demeanor because it's just keep it 1,000. I was a child. And that part of me of having to be like an overcomer and you know what I'm saying, determined, and I gotta make it because odds are already stacked against me. Excuse me now. Odds are already stacked against me was so loud. So I felt like I had to overwork and just work extra hard because people was already counting me out. And it allowed this inner voice telling me that one, I would try to go lay down, that I couldn't lay down, I couldn't rest, I got to get it, I got to prove them wrong. But what it also did is it showed up in my parenting and it made me not be as confident in my decision making with my children. It made me always second guess when I was making decisions with my children. I was never confident in my parenting. I always felt like I had to be their friend and not their mother. So I showed up as very permissive in my parenting and not authoritative in my parenting. I had two parenting styles. I was either permissive, or I was either authoritative. And authoritative mean they talk over their kids. They don't let their kids have an authority or not authority, but a voice. But also the permissive is not setting any rules, pretty much just letting your kid do whatever you want them to do, right? And the authoritative, right? They actually, you know what I'm saying, talk things out with their kids. They see their kids' point of views, but they still stick stern with their rules, and it is what it is, right? They create an environment and they cultivate an environment of safety and security for their children versus a permissive they parenting and authoritative parenting. They pretty much just don't set any rules and pretty much just let the kids run the house and wonder why it's so chaotic, right? So they don't have any goal setting, any rules or nothing like that. And it was showing up in my parenting because I wanted to be that parent that, you know what I'm saying, had a time where her kids go to bed and all of this. And every time I tried to set things in stone because I lived with my parents at the time, it was always a back and forth in my parenting and I was always arguing about it. So it made me be very self-conscious and not be confident in my decision making when it came to my parenting. So shifting now, God had began to speak to me about my parenting. And I was telling him, like, God, I'm very insecure about my parenting. He told me, he said, discover your parenting style and see what shifts you need to make in order to show up as the parent that you want to show up as. And I saw that I was showing up very permissive, right? And so I knew that it was some shifts I needed to take and more so the authoritative parenting style to create a sense of safety and security because I came to the conclusion that I was seeing the same repetitive style in parenting style in my bloodline, but I was also seeing the same thing that the children would suffer from. They would suffer from hopelessness, they would suffer from depression, and that's because they did not have a sense of hope and they didn't have that sense of what you would call it. They didn't have that sense of feeling like I ain't gonna say belonged, but they suffer from depression and anxiety. So I want you to answer this question. What is something that is now showing up, that inner critic is showing up in your parenting or showing up in your life that you're not able to show up as the parent person you are called to be? And I want you to answer these three questions. Who was your first critic? How did that hinder you from seeing yourself the way that God sees you? And what shifts you need to take today in order for you to start showing up as your powerful self? And then I want you to write a letter of free to be. What it would be like if you did not have that inner critic that created strongholds, that created limitations, that created limited beliefs, that you have created comfort in. What would it be like if you would let go of the inner critic, let go of those safety mechanisms that you created? And how would it be like for you to be free to be who you was called to be? Because on the other side of those limitations is the wealth that you're crying and you're praying to God to bring to your life. Wealth is health. And you being restricted is actually causing your body to be at a dis-ease, right? That's your body's letting you know that it's time for you to free yourself from those inner critics and those uh, limited beliefs that's hindering you to being your abundant self. So on this wealthy Wednesday, what is inside of you that's a limited belief that's connected to your inner critic that's hindering you from not stepping into your abundance?